meeting of the Oshkosh Advisory Park Board. For those in the room, please make sure your cell phone is silenced, and then those on the video call, if you could mute when you're not speaking, that would be appreciated. Roll call?
Bartelt, Davis,
Here.
Girth,
Here.
Royal,
Here.
Hudak,
Here.
Martin,
Here.
Metz. Becky, I don't know if you can hear us still or not.
She's here.
She's here. Millet,
Here.
Palmieri,
Here.
thank you.
All right, Ray?
I will take over the meeting right now for the election of the chair. So what I'll do is open the floor for nominations for chair for the coming year.
I think that Amy has done a wonderful job.
Second.
Any other nominations for chair?
I would second that Amy's doing great.
Last call for nominations for chair. If not, we'll close, and we had a motion and a second, and we can do a voice call for Amy Davis for chair.
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Amy, it's all you again.
All right. All right,
Congratulations, Amy.
thank you. All right, now we need to do the election for the vice chair. Any nominations?
I nominate Tony.
I second.
Aye.
No
Anyone else?
opposed?
Any other nominations? All right, then
One more time.
one more time. I can do it 3 times? All right, one more time. Any other nominations?
Oh.
Now you can take the call.
All right, now we do
Voice call.
voice call.
All in favor of Tony being elected vice chair?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Amy, the team is back together again.
Woo! All right, any comments on the July 13th minutes? Any changes?
No. I move approval.
Second.
Right, Lori for approval, Deb for second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye. Nay.
Thank you.
All right, do we have any old business? Nope. No new business? All right, we're on to new business. I'm really keeping this
Really
quick.
fast.
All right, Ray, the shelter rental fees?
We're currently in the middle of our budget preparation for 2021. So what we typically do at this time of the year is we take a look at our fees that we have for our department, and if there's any fees that we want to bring to the board's attention, possibly for increasing or adjusting, we do so at this time, and then we move it through the process as the council goes through budget deliberations over the next few months. So as we took a look at the fees, there's some fees that we have not adjusted for a while. And the first one that we'll talk about is the park shelter, the rental fees. The current fees were last updated in 2014. So they've been in place for 7 summers, counting this summer. Stacy worked on a survey of surrounding communities to give us a little bit of a comparison. We tried to get like shelters for what we have to offer. So that information was attached in your packet. Taking a look at that, we then took a proposal for the 2021 fee schedule. Some of the items that we're considering as we adjust these is one, it's been a number of years, and we don't want to wait too long to make adjustments to the fees, because then we're trying to catch up on increased costs or other things that happen. So we've been asked to, try to keep up with them, taking a look at our fees, and I think 7 years is a pretty long time, or a pretty generous time for having no fee adjustments. In that time, what we've been able to do, we've added shelter reservations can be made online, as well as we now accept payment by credit and debit cards. And as you can imagine, we're charged a transaction fee or a convenience fee for using the credit and debit cards, as well as annual maintenance fees for the software programs for the online reservation system. What we're doing is we've recommended a $5 increase across the board for shelter rental fees to help offset some of those fees, as well as the increased cleaning and maintenance costs for the shelters. So that's the reasoning for our recommendation. You can have some discussion by the board. We can address any questions you might have. And what we'll ultimately need is a recommendation from the council on whatever fees you would like to see move forward for 2021. So we'll start with the shelter fees.
Ray, quick question. What are those convenience credit debit card cost fees for using them?
We looked at the current bank statement. There's the convenience fees basically, but then there's also some other fees and charges that are rolled in. For the month of June, it ends up being about 4% roughly. And those are for a variety of different fees that we took a look at on the bank statements. And I'll give you an idea on this one for the annual maintenance fee for the software system. We use the software system. It's used for our rental fees, but it's also used at our pool for our passes and so forth. And that's about $5,100 for the year. So that kind of gives you an idea as far as maintenance fees and so forth.
You mentioned the increased cleaning. Is that with regards to the recent stuff with COVID, or is that just in general you've noticed over the years? And then it seems like a lot of areas like in our community are increasing fees because of that. Is $5 enough to warrant all of the extra cleaning you might be doing?
Yeah, we did not take into consideration COVID. We took in consideration that the cost for staffing, not only for payroll for if it's seasonal staff that we utilize or full-time staff. I would say over that time, over the last 7 years, we probably averaged 2 to 2.5% increases each year for payroll. As far as the COVID goes, at this point, we do have additional cleanings going on, but we're hoping that ultimately those we'll get back to some of the routine cleaning. We know we're going to have to continue it for a period of time, but I don't think at this point we want to have something that we're going to pass on to the public until we know further how long the situation will last.
Ray, a quick question on the park shelter rental fees. On each of the lines, for example, starting with South Park, there are 2 costs. So it says 55/65 weekday for the shelter rental fee, and then 65/75 weekend. What is the differentiation between the 2 costs?
Sure. I'm looking at the first one on the top to keep it simple, the South Park Large, which is our number 1, the enclosed shelter. So there's different costs, and this has been historic with the department before I got here. So we have a different rate for the weekdays as well as weekends. So if you take a look at the 55 and 65 for the weekday, 55 is the resident rate, 65 is the non-resident for the weekday, and then on weekends it jumps up to $65 for resident, $75 for non-resident on the weekends.
Okay, I thanks for that clarification.
Sure.
Yeah, didn't know that non-resident, yeah.
Ray, if I can, going back to that convenience fee, if I'm not mistaken, I think other bills collected by the city, the customer pays that convenience fee in addition to whatever the charge is. I certainly support the increase in the minimum of $5. It could even go higher, but can't they pay in addition that convenience fee? So that you're not absorbing that cost?
I think that's what we're trying to do, Scott, is to add on to the cost so that we are going to absorb it, because it comes out of the deposits that we sent to the bank, essentially. So it's money that is not coming into the city any longer, if you had written a check and so forth. So we're absorbing those, and by this $5, we're trying to offset those costs. I don't know if that'll answer your question, but we are still going to be absorbing that through the fee. And you are correct that I believe when residents pay their bill, their water bill and other bills through the city, that fee is added on. And I think we did not do that when we went to our online system. So we're doing a little catch up now. And I think this is our second summer, Stacy, with online registration.
True, yes.
So this is our second summer really that we've absorbed the fees for the public for 2 summers. And the 4% again is, the $5 I think will cover that 4% plus some.
So can we,
Okay. I-
increase it by more than $5?
Yeah, I think to help cover that, so you're not absorbing that, I'd be in favor of.
That's totally up to the board. We were being cognizant of not going too high, but we understand, that it's been a while, and because of the additional convenience fees and other things that have been changed over the last 7 years, that, if that's what the consensus of the board or the majority would be.
Can you provide, I don't have any frame of reference for how many rentals do we do? What kind of business is this for our department? You mentioned the amount of money that we pay towards the convenience fee seems significant. So what stats do we have on that, Ray?
Stacy can correct me. She ran the numbers at between 450 and 500 a year. I believe.
It was at least 450 to 500.
Yeah, we looked at the last 3 years. This year we know is low, so we went back to 19. And actually, I think we went back to 18 and 17. I would say it's right around 500 rentals per year, Tony.
Mm-hmm.
It went back to 17 for South Park, just because in 18 we had the reconstruction work done, and then the 17 and 19 numbers were pretty comparable with each other. And then we did 18 and 19 for Menominee Park, Rainbow Memorial, and Abe Ashland.
So was my calculations right that 4% of $55 is like $2.20. So the $5 is about half for the convenience fee and half for other increased expenses. Okay.
Correct.
And this is Lori here. So I'm just on my phone here trying to do a kind of a test reservation, for example, for the gazebo at Menominee Park under the online reservations for like September 10th. And when I click on the $, it says there are no fees for this facility.
You have to enter it into your cart before it fully shows on that front. But I can check with RecTrack and see why it would be showing that.
Did you add it into your cart, Lori?
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be an opportunity to add it to the cart.
You have to log in as a user because it won't know what your fees are because it can't give you the resident, non-resident fees unless you're logged into the system.
So you have to create like an account to do that.
In order to make a reservation, yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Right, so 2014 was the last time we raised rates. Usually $5, is that what it was last time? We can remember?
I can't remember offhand.
Before that, were you raising regularly, or is it kind of every 5 years or 6 years it comes around again?
I would say it was probably about the same interval. That was pre-me, so I'd have to go back into the records to see how far. I started in 2010, and we didn't change it, I don't believe, since when I started until 14 at least.
Okay. They're all reasonable rates. I mean, that's a reasonable rate for having a shelter all day long. I support the $5. And if you guys as a staff think that's enough to carry it, then I'm okay with that. Or else, if the board wants to discuss raising it even more, what what level are we looking at?
And I guess I would support raising it a little bit more, given that it has been a significant period of time. And I don't know, maybe others can speak to, we are seeing increased use, there's increased wear and tear, there's increased cleaning. I could see us going beyond the 5.
Is staff comfortable with the 5 covering costs of everything that you see in the future?
I don't think this is a cost recovery for what we do.
Right.
It'll depend on how big the event is, how much cleaning needs to take place. Again, we were trying to take a look at the current economic times.
Yep, and I agree with you on that. Yeah.
And trying not to be too big of a jump. Stacy, correct me if I'm wrong, but these fees do not include tax, so the tax is added onto this.
That is correct, yes. All of these fees are without tax. Tax would get added on once you purchase it. So at $55.65, once tax is added, it's $57.75 or $68.25.
So just to give you an idea, it's a little bit more for the consumer that way as well.
I see.
So what if we do go with the $5 now, but maybe put in place that this should be reviewed at least every 5 years as an ongoing practice, or every 4 years, or say, I know you're looking at it sometimes, but be a little more set as to review a little more often, so that, because I agree, small increment is better than
Usually the best way
big.
to do it, yeah, instead of one big bang at one time.
Yeah, like review it every other year or something. Just
Yep.
add a few dollars every couple of years.
Or at least review it then, and decide
Yeah.
whether to do anything or not, but 7's a long time to wait. But
Yep.
I agree, 5, if you're comfortable with 5, seems like enough for now, but it doesn't mean we'd wait, say, in a year or 2 and look again, or, whatever we decide, I'm not.
Yep, and I'll just give the board a little bit more background on all the fees throughout the city. The finance department has a policy, and what they're working on is to try to get all city fees at one time coming through the system so that the boards and commissions are reviewing them. And in that policy, it outlines which fees should be looked at and how often.
Right.
I think that's been drafted. I don't think it's been followed as closely as what the city would like. So that is out there, and these types of fees will be addressed based on that policy, so.
Good.
Very good.
I'm comfortable with the $5. It seems, if staff is, I think that revisiting this in a couple years makes sense. And if we do too much more, even though at $5 to $10, how we would do it, we can increase percentage wise in what you're doing. So that would be, it might only seem like $10, but it would be a significant percentage increase. So I like sticking with 5 and revisiting it when it comes around again.
We'll need a recommendation from somebody if that's the consensus.
I will propose that these fees are approved. Or yeah.
I would second.
Was that you, Devin?
Yes, it was.
All right, Davis,
Yes.
Dearth,
Aye.
Royal,
Aye.
Hudak,
Aye.
Martin,
Aye.
Metz,
Aye.
Millet,
Aye.
Palmieri.
Aye.
Motion passed 8-0.
All right, boat launch fees.
This one is, fairly consistent with ones we just talked about. We've reviewed the fees. We do review these every year, try to compare mostly with the county, but other communities in the area. The last time these fees were adjusted was again 2014. You received in your packet the survey of other fees. I believe the county went to $7 last summer, 2019, I believe. So their daily fee went from the 5 to the 7. Again, since the fees were adjusted, we've added the ability for purchasing season passes online, just like the shelter rentals, able to pay by credit and debit card. And with the new electronic pay stations, what I'll give you an update on in my report, which are working very great. But again, we're going to see increase in debit, credit card use, and when that goes through our bank, we again have those convenience fees being charged to us. So what we took a look at again was try to be close or consistent with area launches, mainly again the county because they have many of them that are near us. So we proposed the fees in your packet, and they're attached to let the public know, just to go through those real quickly. The daily launch fee currently for Oshkosh is $5. Staff is recommending $7 daily launch. Annual pass for resident currently $25. We're recommending $30. Annual pass non-resident $35, recommending $40. A multi-year resident is $65, we're recommending $70. Multi-year non-resident $90, recommending $95. And then we've got replacement costs if it's your second or third, or I'm sorry, your second based on your residency, resident, non-resident.
Ray, what is the multi-year? How many years can one get for $70 or $65?
That's 3 years.
3 years.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes.
It seems, I think that this one is really a no-brainer for me because I think that residents will see and users are going to see that updates that you're making and notice that that money's going to a good place. And so I don't know that people could have a hard time understanding that we're getting this better technology and all this kind of stuff going on. So I think this looks good, Ray.
And just so that the board is aware, the anything that we collect for the boat launch fees needs to stay segregated into a fund specifically for the boat launches, and that's by state statute. So any of the money, additional funds that are generated is used for boat launch improvements and set aside for future renovations or construction of new facilities potentially as well.
Any other comments, questions?
So what kind of a fund do we have going for that now, or have you spent it down with all the improvements you made?
We haven't, and I knew that question was going to come up, and I didn't look at it today, and I was just getting into this budget. I don't think I have it in this budget book.
Well, you can tell us next time, it's fine.
I can do a quick check, see if it's in here, if there's enough detail in this one. It's growing. I don't want to give you a number, but it's a couple $100,000.
Wow.
But I need the public and the board to understand, when you take a look at our master plans for the parks and some of the boat launch reconfiguration, whether it's at Menominee or Rainbow, some of those projects that are in our CIP, we're talking about $3 to $4.5 million for reconstruction, not only the parking lot and the launches, but there's other improvements in there in certain pieces of that. But a big chunk of that, if we start getting into some of those major improvements, we'll be looking at some of those dollars going to help pay the cost of that. So there's some big ticket items, even though the fund is getting up there a little bit. There's the less we have to borrow, the better off we're going to be.
Yeah,
So
you've got plans for that money.
we've had it in our master plans.
Okay.
But I apologize, and
No,
what
it's okay.
I can give you that number. Like I said, I can get that to you.
No, that's fine. It's got plans for it, whatever it is, so. That just.
Ray, question on the segregated funds there. So besides the boat launches, that money is also set aside for parking lot paving as well?
No, but if we have, like at Rainbow, I'll use that as an example. In the CIP, we have a major project at Rainbow a number of years out. And if you take a look at the Rainbow Memorial Park plan, it talks about moving the drive aisle further away from the boat launch so people with large boats aren't congesting the traffic flow down there. So moving that drive aisle and redoing the parking lot, basically reconstructing the parking lot to add boat launch and trailer parking. Those are some of the projects that will impact the boat launches. So it stays in there. No, it has not been used for parking lot construction or repaving or anything, Mayor. It's again for those long-term projects that include boat launch renovations.
I will propose that we approve these fees as presented.
I'll
Second,
second.
Devin, was that you again?
Lori.
Oh, that was Lori, sorry. I'm writing and trying to like look and hear at the same time, so I haven't quite recognized all of your voices quite yet. Thank you. All right, to vote, Davis,
Aye.
Girth,
Aye.
Royal,
Aye.
Hudak,
Aye.
Martin,
Aye.
Metz,
Aye.
Millet,
Aye.
and Palmieri.
Aye.
Motion passed 8-0.
All right, staff reports, Ray.
Okay, most of our time in the office has been spent on, like, as I said, budget preparation. Our department budgets for next year are due to the finance department on Monday of next week, so that's been consuming a lot of our time. In addition, our staff evaluation, performance evaluations are due at the end of this month as well. So a lot of things going on just operationally. But a couple projects that have higher on the list to talk about is the first one is Lakeshore Park Phase 1 development update. Where we're at on that is we had sent out a request for proposals about a month ago, a little over a month ago, and we received those proposals up until last Thursday morning, and we actually received 13 proposals from architectural engineering firms to begin design of the Four Season building, the plaza area around the Four Season building, and the parking lot associated with that. Those are those first components of Phase 1, basically, that are close to within our $2 million that we have in the budget. So we just received those, like I said, on Thursday. I have organized a team of staff from the different departments, including planning, economic development, parks, as well as engineering staff. They'll take a look at those, help us start narrowing down the firms that we feel are best qualified to work with us. And then we'll take a look at moving forward with the preferred consultant at that time. So I would expect, again, based on everything going on in the departments between budget, performance evaluations, I've given staff, I believe, 10 days to take a look at the proposals. And then by the end of the month, we'll have a meeting with our purchasing division staff, go through the proposals, and take a look at what the cost proposals are. Because what we do is cost proposals are in separate sheets or in separate envelopes. We don't take a look at those. We basically use qualification based when we take a look at the proposals that the firms send in. So we don't take a look at the cost until we get to that point of narrowing it down. So we'll work through that process. I would hope that by our September meeting, assuming we have a September meeting, that we would know who that selected firm or that top firm would be. And then I can give you a better idea on any schedule moving forward. But so we're excited. It's a lot of proposals for a project. I think the firms that sent in their proposals know that this is really the start of Phase 1, and getting in at this Phase 1 may give them a leg up on future phases or pieces of the master plan and continuing those. So very qualified. So we'll keep you apprised on that. The electronic pay stations, those were installed, I think it was about 2.5 weeks ago or so, and they've been operating very well for us internally, as well as for the users. We've gotten some pretty good comments that it's been convenient. No glitches other than one that had a dollar bill jammed in for a day or half a day, and we're able to get that taken care of. So what we wanted to do is we currently have them out at Rainbow Memorial Park. We have two of the pay stations, Fugelberg and 24th. And we wanted to give them at least a month here or so to make sure that we were comfortable with the operations, but also that the public was receiving them well. And then we would take a look at purchasing them for the additional boat launches. So we're going to give it another week here yet, but I think right now staff is very happy. Our finance department is happy because we can actually see live, real time. The system is actually cloud-based. So Stacy can go on the computer and we can see when somebody uses a credit card or pays cash, tracks that right down to the minute. So it's good for us. Our finance likes it because it's easier for them to, once we bring the transactions or the funds in, it's very easy for them to handle. And we also like it because it's cut down on the amount of cash that we have, because less cash handling for us, it's safer and accountable. So we're happy, and if you haven't been out there to take a look at them, again, they're solar powered. We've been very happy with them.
So you can tell right when somebody's using it, actually, based on that too. Time of day, how many,
Yep.
wow.
Ray, a question going back to item A on Lakeshore Park.
Yes.
For those folks watching at home, do you anticipate once that consultant is selected that they will put together a timeline of public participation for some of the particular, I guess, design and styles and themes with regard to the Four Seasons building and the plaza and that, or is that further out?
No, that'll be part of what we'll work on. Once we get the firm chosen, we'll sit down and we'll put together a schedule of moving forward. We do have in there, in the RFP, we did have a number of meetings where they would be attending. The public input I foresee happening here at the Parks Board. So they'll be coming up with some design alternatives for the site and bringing those forward. And then we'll start getting into more of the design of the building and some of those more intricate pieces. And again, we'll have public input, and we can note that here for the Parks Board. Ultimately, then, it needs to go to the Plan Commission for approval and the Common Council for approval. So that will all be laid out in the schedule. So there'll be opportunities throughout the entire process.
And if I understood correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe there was a citizen comment during the kind of visioning component that this area would have some Native American historical educational type. Is that right?
Not in this the first portion of phase one. As we get further along into the phase, going to the north of the Four Seasons building, and we cross the little creek that comes in, and we get closer to the hillside that was more significant for cultural purposes. That's when we'll start getting into that. So it may be in the next step, depending on when funding becomes available. And then I forgot to mention too, we did apply for a grant. It actually goes through the Department of Natural Resources. So communities can apply through the DNR, and then they choose from each state to move on for funding through the National Park Service. We were notified that our application for the next couple pieces of this project, the DNR has moved us forward to the National Park Service, and that grant we applied for $1 million. So we're hoping that within the next couple of months, we may get word whether or not we were successful for that, but we made it through, again, that first step of being recognized by the DNR as one of the top projects from the state. So
That's fantastic.
That's awesome. The reason that I asked that question is I know that, in some situations, the tribes have maybe wanted to have more input, and I'm just curious if that will be part of that RFP or RFQ, that the public participation component, when you get to the stage of that Native American heritage piece, that's part of that request of that consultant to, I guess, coordinate some of the communications and input from the tribes.
yeah, I would see that happening as we get further along into those pieces, Mayor, that we would work closely with them just like we have through the entire process so far. Because I know there's some but plans for cultural signage, historic signage, and typically what we'll do is work through our museum as well as through the tribes and others that we can get that information for signage and other things that we can have on the site. I'm going to move on to my third item, the outdoor fitness equipment installation at Menominee Park. If you haven't seen that, this was a project that we worked on with the Menominee South Neighborhood Association. It was a project that they wrote a grant to the city and were funded through our Healthy Neighborhood initiatives through our planning division. They had requested 6 pieces of outdoor fitness equipment with the intention of putting 3 of them that are wheelchair accessible across the street from Bella Vista along the new path or the new trail that we have. Those have been installed, and then there's an additional 3 pieces on the south end or the south side of the community playground, the former Little Oshkosh site. So those pieces have been installed. Restoration was recently completed. We seeded, topsoiled, and hydro-mulched those areas recently. So we're hoping with this rain and the good weather, we'll start to see some turf coming up. So if you haven't seen those, I'd recommend you get out. I think the Neighborhood Association has been happy with those. It's a new addition to the parks. We haven't had outdoor fitness equipment in our parks yet. And this was some of the equipment specifically that the Neighborhood Association recommended to us. And then Chad Dahlman and I had an opportunity to see the equipment at one of our professional conferences alongside of some other ones, and really felt that this was some of the more sturdy equipment, and so we were comfortable with it as well. So that was another project that we're proud to get going. And I believe that our senior center, if they haven't done it, they're going to get out and start encouraging senior population to utilize the ones along the trail as well. They're going to do some video and share that on their Facebook and YouTube page from the senior center to get the seniors back out and exercising and socializing as well.
So I've tried out those equipment at the park. They're very fun. Yeah, they worked really nice.
Good, thank you.
That's awesome. Good job, guys.
That's all I have.
All right. Any other business? All right.
Want to move to adjourn?
Move to adjourn? Is that what you're looking at me for?
I picked up, I first time in. You want a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Just second page of the back page, just a quick reminder, the next meeting date is September 14th. Definitely keep you updated if we have some agenda items, if there's things we need to keep you apprised of. So September 14th would be the next meeting. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.